It was a mixture of both emotion and reason at Kampala International University as the institution administration struggled to create an illusion that the National Council for Higher Education Task Force report has not been injurious to the university's standing. The university, whose Doctorate of Philosophy degrees were Tuesday this week cast in the dark by the National Council for Higher Education due to poor standards, has now launched a stinging rebuttal, saying the council has no standards that define a PhD degree and thus should not argue along these lines.
We are saying that we are not going to recognize those degrees.
They don't have standards. The standards they use are ours. What normally happens, you set your own standards. So what they are saying that we did not meet our own standards.
Professor Tibenderana says it's not strange for one professor to disapprove the findings, dissertation or thesis of a student who has been told by another professor, noting that all the said PhDs were passed by the insurance examiners and thus are not fake as the report put them.
So if the National Council has found our PhDs wanting, but our own examiners had passed them, I do not find it unusual. I am now, as Vice Chancellor of Kampala International University, I'm telling you that is not true. So you can tell the National Council that that's what Tibenderana said, that is not true.
Every person has its own academician, has its own perceptions on how they should assess PhD.
On the fate of those students who are currently undergoing PhDs, plus those who have had theirs rejected, the institution says it's to meet all the costs for fresh degrees and that it's do it under the recommendations of the council. This means that they will have to begin afresh. Majority of these, however, have been lecturers at the institution who had been sponsored by the university itself.
The university will continue to meet the cost of their studies until they get their PhD.
Despite the fact that the institution refused allegations of engaging in plagiarism in some of its dissertations, it however says it will implement all the proposals of the council in its report. Surprisingly, however, is that KIU is still maintaining that the report had major variances that do not add up to the information gathered from it during the investigations.
Assuming I say, what is the estimate period to correct data? Say 3 months. Now, if I went and spent 2 months and I completed my project, and you come and say, no, but you spent a very short time correcting data. You should have spent 6 months instead of this. Now, what do you call that? Is that minor? Is that major? What is it?
In its recommendations, the university has asked the council to handle matters of this nature with sensitivity and confidentiality, noting, however, that it's ready to work with it to achieve the recommendations in the report. Well, Kampala International University is insisting that it has the standards which the National Council for Education says it doesn't have. Now, we don't know whether KIU is intending to say that the council is simply fighting it, or the council itself doesn't know what it's doing. But what they are saying is that they're going to go ahead and award the PhD degrees which they say they are not in standard. Mukitale, the Best Television, KIU, Kampala.